Oh goodness. Had a brain freeze for a moment. It's okay, I recovered. My name is Caitlin. I am a volunteer with GROWW and part of the Housing Justice team that organized this event today. We're here to talk about rental inspections. Rental inspections are a very important part of what keeps homes in our communities safe and healthy places to live. It's something that I wish that a presentation like this is something I wish I had before I signed my very first lease and I left the college dorms here in Menominee and started renting for the first time in 2011. And oh my goodness, it's been how time has fly. We're going to go over our agenda, which is over here. One moment, hold for posted transition. All right, so welcome everyone, especially for all the new folks and new faces that we're seeing here today. So happy to have you. After we finish this section, I'm going to hand it off to Monica, who's going to go over shared agreements for how we want to proceed during this presentation. Then we will hear from Emmy, who will share a story about how rental inspections would have been very important to a situation she had. And then Andrew's going to go over some background on GROWW and our campaign and our team specifically and how we got here today. Then we'll hear from Dave, our Menominee building inspector, who will give us a presentation on how rental inspections works. After that, Monica will facilitate, oh my gosh, words. She will facilitate a Q&A with the whole group and Dave, and then we will end on a closing for today. Sound good? Yeah? All right. One quick housekeeping note. If you're thirsty, there is water along the right-hand side of the inside the building here behind the welcome desk. If you need to use the bathroom, they are accessible outside the building and in the back. And that's it. All right. Monica.
All right, hello. My name is Monica Barrier. I'm going to be facilitating tonight's discussion with Dave Kowski, the building inspector. So first, I just wanted to acknowledge how amazing it is that we've got so many people here on a Wednesday night, a beautiful Wednesday night, here to talk about housing in Menominee. This shows how there's this hunger, right, to work together in our community to make this a better place to live for everybody, and we're just so excited. We have an incredibly diverse crowd here tonight. We've got elected officials, we've got city administrators, we've got landlords, we've got tenants, we've got homeowners, and we've got stout students. Over the past year, I've been to a lot of different meetings on housing in Menominee, and this is the first one where I've seen where we've had so many of these different stakeholders together in the same space. I think it's really important that we're gathered together to have the same conversation and get on the same page. We're really proud at GROWW that we've been able to facilitate this kind of discussion. That said, given that we have such a diverse crowd with so many different takes and needs about housing, I'm going to set some pretty strong ground rules about today's discussion. Give me a moment. All right, so we want to make sure that our discussion tonight stays positive and that everybody feels heard and respected and that we can all stay safe and sound in this environment. First of all, we all want to live in a safe home in a strong community. And here at GROWW, we believe that rental inspections are a strong tool to make sure that this happens. So we called this meeting tonight to learn about this program and how it can be used to help us. That means that we are not here to air our grievances about the city government or about the inspections department in general, right? We're here to learn about this program and what it can do for us. Second, this conversation today is not an opportunity to sound off about how terrible your landlord is, or how terrible your tenants are, or how terrible out students are for the community or anything like that, okay? We're here to talk about rental inspections and not trash talk our neighbors. So we're going to keep this positive. On the other hand, right, if you have a specific situation, right, that you're concerned about, and you're wondering how can rental inspections help with the situation, we would love to hear about that, right? Ask your questions, we can have that discussion. Third, we are pleased that we have people here tonight from all across the political spectrum, from the right all the way to the left. We love to see that here at GROWW. So GROWW is a nonpartisan political organization. We don't care if you voted for the people with a D after their name or the R after their name. We're here to work together on local problems. So that said, we don't want tonight's conversation to turn into a blame game where we talk about how this political party did this or that political party didn't do that, right? We're here to talk about local issues. We're here to work together and solve real problems that affect real people. And then finally, step up, step back. Okay, so this is a classroom management tool that I use all the time. So we all know that in discussions, right, there's some people who they raise their hand a million times and we totally dominate the conversation, right? You might recognize yourself in that. And if you are feeling a little called out, recognize that maybe this might be a good opportunity to kind of step back and make some space for other people. On the other hand, if you're somebody who's a little bit more quiet, right, and you've got these really good ideas to share, but kind of don't want to take up too much space, this is your invitation to step up, right, and share what you have to say. We really want to hear that. So those are our 3 shared agreements. How does that sound? Okay, you can agree to that? Good. Yeah, so hopefully this can keep the conversation productive and welcoming for everybody. All right. So with that said, I would like to introduce our next speaker. That's you, Emmy Stemke. Emmy has a personal story to share about rental inspections that I hope is going to motivate why this is an important issue and kind of talk about what can go wrong if you happen to be living in a city that doesn't have a strong inspections program. So.
Hello everyone, my name is Emmy and I am here on 3 hours of sleep to tell the story of one of the worst days of my life. Isn't that fun? So, usually I never have notes with me, but this one's kind of a raw story on a tight timeline, so we'll do what we can with it. It is a story that could possibly have been prevented if there had been a rental inspection program in place. So, for about 7 years, I lived in one of those tall, narrow, condominium kind of row house alignment units in a town called Chapel Hill that did not have any kind of routine inspection protocol. And I don't know if it could have actually requested one. At the time, I didn't even know what they were or that city inspections were a thing. They just weren't talked about. They certainly weren't required. So one morning, on a cold, frosty, sunny day in January, I woke up to a very loud crashing sound, and I rolled out of bed and ran to the window, blind without my contact lenses, and it was immediately very clear that this is not a drill. There was very thick, heavy black smoke just kind of roiling out of the window next to me. Then I turned my head, and there's more black smoke coming from the window on the other side. And I realized, good morning, you are on the top floor of a building that is on fire on both sides. There was no time. There is not time to find your contact lenses. There is not time to grab one precious object. I was just trying to get cats into boxes and get out of there. Got one cat in a box. Smoke was getting too thick, was worried he was going to suffocate, ran under the neighbor's porch, and I tried to come back for loud rent. But there was a very angry fireman with an axe who stopped me from coming back inside. So, the fire started in the unit next to mine, and whatever fire suppression protocol they were following had them routed right through my unit, which gutted my apartment, lost everything I owned. It was not the greatest latest situation. In all, about 6 units were destroyed, and only one person had renter's insurance. Everybody else got like $200 of a blanket from the Red Cross. So one thing you may not think about as a renter, because why would you want to dwell on that, is that if a unit is declared uninhabitable, it is condemned, and that voids your lease, and you no longer have a right to entry. They don't actually, at least in that town, even have to tell you what happens unless you request an official report. It turned out that what happened was a neighbor who was getting ready for work early on a Monday morning, that's pretty normal to be kind of spaced out, dropped a blanket near an electric baseboard heater. And the blanket ignited, went up the curtain, into the ceiling, down the roof line. This is where rental inspections kind of get important, because if perhaps there had been some kind of mechanism in place, perhaps at some point it could have been flagged. It turned out the official cause that they wrote up was the baseboard heater that was under code on a number of different counts. It was original installation to the building construction 1965. It did not have any temperature sensor. It did not have any heat dissipation fans. It was no safety precautions at all. And when I first moved in, I was very worried about that baseboard heater because there were literally scorch marks on it upstairs. So I had cinder blocks pushed against the dial to keep it from getting bumped, keep anyone from turning it on. I was not the only one. I had talked to other residents. Everyone was nervous about those heaters. If there had been an annual inspection, maybe some point in the 20 years it was out of code, possibly someone would have flagged it. If we had had the ability to request a rental inspection, which I'm not actually sure if it was possible at that time or not, then I think a number of us actually would have. Because again, that would have been better than sitting there staring warily at a heater that we knew was a risk and hoping that tragedy didn't happen. So, I am supporting rental inspections because I have lived the story of what happens when they are not available. I think that's all. I'm going to go through that.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrew, and I'm here to kind of go over what GROWW is and how we got here today. I'm a renter here in Menominee for 7 years. The place where I'm currently living at is less than 10 years old. And last winter, we found out that the windows and the doors to the outside had gaps in them. Gaps so large we can see daylight through them. And during the coldest parts of last winter, we had a considerable amount of frost buildup on the inside of the windows and the door frames, including on the doorknobs and the latch and so on. And we think that this was one of the reasons why our heating bill was higher than what we were anticipating, even with regular hikes in prices, of course. I'm also on the county board. I represent District 22. That's by the Stout Tech Park, the fairgrounds, and a little bit of Main Street as well. And I've been on the county board for, this is my second term, 3 years, and I've been involved with GROWW since January of last year. And one of the best things I like about GROWW is that it gives you the tools you need to do real, actual change in your communities. And one of those changes was the passage of the ADU ordinance last summer. So last summer, there was a proposal to allow for small homes to be put on existing properties, ADUs. And that actually almost did not get out of the zoning committee because of what they heard there. Those of us involved with GROWW at the time attended as many of the public comment sessions as we could. And then the night of the vote for the county board, we had 30 people who were going to be directly impacted by that vote that night speak for 30 minutes in front of the entire board. And passed, 29-0. It passed unanimously. Now think about that. It went from almost failing, not even getting out of committee, to passing unanimously. That's power. Is anyone here who was there that night for it? Raise your hand. I want to thank all of you who were there for your continuous commitment. It is because of you guys that we made change when we demanded. And so how did we end up with focusing on housing and renters inspections? We, us here giving the presentation, we didn't decide on it. All of you guys did. Last summer, we knocked on 500 doors, engaged with over hundreds of people, and held community listening sessions, which I know some of you have attended. And we all collaborated together to drill down and figure out what is the common issue that all of us have that is affecting our lives right now. In your packets and on the table back there, we have the housing study. And in that housing study, I want to read a couple of quotes from it. We have, our ceiling started to leak last winter and is still not fixed. The landlord just tells us to deal with it until they can get someone out. My kid's room smells like mildew now. That person said, every place we've rented has had major problems. One place had a crack in the bedroom wall so big you could see outside. We had to stuff it with jeans just to keep the cold air out. Now, this doesn't just affect renters, it also affects landlords. Good landlords can't compete with corporate owners who prioritize profits over tenants' well-being. Someone said, our first landlord was great, but they sold the building to a big company, now everything's gone downhill. One of my friends, her building was bought out and got changed hands, and the new owners decided to redo all the siding. Perfectly fine, great. They forgot the insulation around her bedroom. I went to go visit her last winter, and she had moved everything out of her bedroom because she was afraid things would start breaking. It was so cold there. She wasn't even sleeping in her bedroom anymore. And she doesn't even want to talk to her landlord about it because she's just thrown up her hands like, what can she do about that? So it is because of your input and your participation in this whole process so far that allowed us to find a common solution that we can all get to make our lives a little better. And what we're proposing is something that isn't, I don't know what the official, but isn't based on like electing a person every 2 or 4 years. This is something that we can pass on our time. We are involved from research to conception to problem solving to finding the solution. And we'll pass it because we demand that on our schedule. Again, like the EDU. So what does it mean to be a part of GROWW, to be a part of like what you guys are here tonight witnessing? It is to recognize that all of us have talents and skills that when put together are greater than what we can accomplish alone. Again, going back to what Monica said earlier, the aphorism, step up, step back. We have the courage and safety to come up with ideas and solutions and participation to step up. And then we also have the grace to encourage another one of us to take on a leadership role, step back. We have shared power in this organization. We each lead and we each allow each other to lead. Guess what? That's actually uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable right now. It challenges us to really allow ourselves to be the capable person that others see us as. We step back to allow other people to have that moment of clarity in themselves, to let them know that they do matter, that you are a stronger person than you think you are, that you have power. When I say have power, does that make anyone here uncomfortable with that word? A little bit, yeah. So I want to share another quote with you by Martin Luther King Jr. because what's a gavel without a quote by MLK? This comes from his Where Do We Go From Here speech in 1967, and he says, power properly understood is nothing but the ability to achieve purpose. It is a strength required to bring about social, political, and economic change. Power is nothing but the ability to achieve purpose. Power is a tool. And with that, we need as many leaders as we can get in what we're proposing coming up. We need leaders who are directly impacted by the issues we're trying to solve, because the people who are closest to the problems are also the people closest to the solution. So my comfort level is less important than someone else's survival. So with that, as we go on from here, as we continue tonight and as into whatever else is going to be coming up in the future, I ask you, all of you, to participate, to be a part of this. Because with all of us here together, we can make Menominee and our surrounding neighbors not just comfortable and able to survive, but to actually prosper. And when all of us prosper, our community thrives. So thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Monica to introduce our speaker for the night.
Okay, so I have the pleasure of introducing Dave Kowalski, and I have something that I took from the city's website. Dave Kowalski is a dedicated family man and seasoned construction and building inspection professional. Married to his supportive wife and a proud father of 3 children, Dave's commitment to safety extends from his home to his career. With a Bachelor of Science in Business with a concentration in construction and certifications in both construction and HVAC from ICC, Dave brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to his role as Chief Building Inspector, a position he has held for 2 years after 9 years of service with the city. And this is something that we stole from somewhere else. I hope it's okay. He was also the 2022 Inspector of the Year for the Northwest Building Inspectors Association. Building on his professional duties, Dave's passions include advocating for building codes and safeties, who else, or who doesn't, and enjoying outdoor activities such as hunting, fishing, snowmobiling, and camping, where he finds solace and rejuvenation amidst nature's beauty. So join me in welcoming Dave.
Yeah, so I've been with the city for 10 years and the chief building inspector for 2. I really love what I do. I really enjoy what I do. The city has a population of 16,000 plus people. That's who I feel like I am. Ben Simmons, he's my other inspector in the crowd. He joined our team in July, so now we got 2 of us out there really pounding the pavement pretty hard. I think the city of Menominee has been very lucky or benefit. We've had an inspection program for 24 years, 24 plus years. It's changed a little bit due to law changes and so forth, but it's still a good program. I did bring some handouts with our ordinance on it. I did bring some DADCAP language too between tenants and landlords. I think tenants need to create, and landlords need to create a relationship with their tenants. You know, when you go to look at a place to rent, walk through it with them. Take their checklist that they have. There should be a checklist that you get. Take pictures, write all that stuff down. And when you have all of that, and you have issues, now you can call our department. We'll take, if someone calls me and has a complaint, I should say, let me back up. There's 2 ways to get a rental inspection. One is complaint-based. That complaint-based needs to come from a tenant on the lease. It needs to come from a city official. It comes from the fire department, police department. I can't take it from a mom or a dad or a friend. It has to come from that tenant on the lease. That's in state statute. If I have all that information from you, you call me and say, yep, I've filled out all this information, I've sent it into the landlord to come and fix this, they're not doing it, we want a rental inspection, we will definitely come out. How I do that though is I call it the powwow. I get a hold of either the property manager, or I get a hold of the owner, and then arrange it for all 3 of us, or so many to meet to do that inspection. And we're gonna go through that inspection thoroughly from head to toe, from basement all the way to roof. Whether we're looking at leaky windows, or we're looking at doors falling off, cracks in the roof, the ceiling leaking, we're gonna go through all of that. Now, my report has to be based off of code. In our rental ordinance, we adopt the UDC building code, we adopt the commercial building code, we adopt the mechanical code, the plumbing code, and the electrical code. So anything that I write up, I have to base it off of code. I can't make something up. So we're gonna have that behind us to hopefully it's gonna correct the situation. If it doesn't correct the situation, we can go to citations and so forth. I don't really like to do that. I'd rather have things worked out. I always tell people too, when you walk through these, it's a picture in time. When I used to find them, we used to go through them regularly, what would really irritate me were smoke alarms. We'd walk through, test the smoke alarm, battery wasn't in it, battery was gone. Some kids were playing video games with the battery that came out of the smoke alarm. Some said the smoke alarm was just beeping, so they took it out, didn't put a new one back in. Now that can depend, how that works, that can depend on your landlord. Sometimes in your lease, if you gotta read your lease, that the landlords are responsible for putting that battery back in. Otherwise, other leases say the tenant has to put it back in. So you really gotta read your lease and what you're looking at. And again, I think when you fill out that introduction sheet when you move in, that's going to help you all the way through, even when you move out. Because when you move out and they point out something that is broken or busted, you can say, no, that was like this when I moved in. Here's my picture, here's a document you and I signed when I moved in. I'm not responsible for it. That's a lot of debt cap stuff. So I mean, if you want to look up that, again, I brought that information, you can look at it in detail and read all of that. Lost my train of thought, sorry.
Can I ask you a question before you move on too far?
Sure.
What if it's changed hands, then you got released and you signed when you moved in, those people are gone.
Okay.
You assume it's still good until
Yes.
your renewal time. But does the new company, if you don't have a lease, have a say-so in anything that might be different between them and your first lease?
Well, from the knowledge I know of debt cap, you're going to have to probably sign a new lease with the new company. So I would walk through and do a check-in sheet with the new person.
But that's not until it renews, right?
True.
So it's kind of, you're kind of in limbo. It's
Yeah.
the old people are not taking care of it anymore, but the new people might have to, they want you to sign your lease before they tell you
What they're going to
it's
do.
going to be about.
Yeah, that is a gray area. I agree with you. I don't really have an answer for you. I can dig something up and get back to you. I can let GROWW know. I did bring a notepad with me, but
It's okay, it's not.
yeah, no. There's a lot of, you do run into some gray areas. I do see that. Because even I've written up violations and the owner's changed in the midst of all that. That's difficult. Now I got to go back in again. Do I have the right to go back in again? There's rules too where we have a complaint and we get there and the other tenant don't want us to come in. I can't legally go in. I have to go get a warrant. If the violation is severe enough, I will go get a warrant. I haven't had to do that yet in the city of Manawatu. I think a lot of our landlords, almost all of our landlords, I think are very caring. They understand they'll work with you. Do I have a handful that don't? Yes, I do. And do I have a handful of tenants that don't care too? Yes. There's some responsibility on both sides. You know, we're the referee in all of this. And then I think if we can all work together, that's the way I've been running it for the last 4 years. And has it all worked out? No, but it's working out pretty good, I think. So our doors are always open. You guys, Ben and I are there. Please call us. When Bill first come to me from GROWW, I was surprised that nobody knew about the building inspection department. I thought everybody knew about it. I'm like, really? So, yes, we are there. We do inspections, we're there anytime you want us. Now, some of this stuff takes time. So like, we go back to violations. We find a violation, there's 30 days to fix that violation. It's based off of severity. If we walk in and we see the sprinkler system is down, 24 hours, they better get that up and running. And I better be somebody there. If it's possibly a leaky roof or something, we're going to get 30 days because you can't get product soon enough to get it fixed. But they can put a tarp over, they can do something to preliminary do something. Like windows leaking, the gentleman talked about the frosty windows and the air leak. In our ordinance, those windows have to operate correctly, they have to seal correctly, the seals have to be good, the screens have to be on, there can't be holes in these screens, so we have an ordinance that backs that stuff up. It takes 30 days to try to get a window. So if anything, maybe the landlord could put up some plastic to prevent the cold from coming in. We got to worry about lighting and ventilation during the summer on some of that stuff, but if it's just temporary so they can get a new window in, they got to do that. Go ahead, yeah, please. Look, this is all open, so.
Say your landlord puts in
Mhm.
and that becomes, like, they never have a permit. They add plastic for the seals, but they don't ever
We have to go back to an inspection.
Yeah, Dave, do you want to paraphrase the question for everyone else?
So she requested, so they do a temporary solution to our fix, but then never complete. Let's go back to the window. So they put plastic over, they say they ordered the window, it doesn't come. So in our violation, we have the 30 days. So in 30 days, we're going to do a reinspection. We're going to keep up with those people. We're going to say, well, where's the window at? I'm going to ask for an order to see the order, when the ship date is. We want documentation. So yes, no, it's got to get fixed. We do follow up. We have a reinspection. We do have the option too, if they don't fix it in 30 days, to write a citation. Again, that just seems to heighten up the level of time, so I don't want to do that if I don't have to. I will though, but usually, what have I found in the past is windows with COVID and stuff, things got delayed. It's gotten a lot better now.
Maybe you said it's in your intro, and I didn't catch it, but where are all these ordinances and the requirements so that we know there's something that's not?
So if you go to our City of Menominee website, go City of Menominee, pull up City of Menominee, look under government, go under building inspection. There, right there is our, we're remodeling now, but it's up on the corner, rental properties. Rental properties, the ordinances are all there in Title IX. Every rental has to be registered in the City of Menominee. I forgot to say that. That's another ordinance that we have. They have to register. There are times we get calls and complaints. We'll look in our records and we don't have registration. Now they got to register it. So I always want to know, and in that registration, that's based off state statute, that we have to have the name of the owner or the property manager, an email, and a contact. We have to be able to get a hold of somebody. So if you call me with a complaint, then I can call them on how to get a hold of them or get them there for the inspection. So that, I forgot that. That's there too in the ordinance. We do have to abide by the 24-hour or 12-hour notice. So a landlord does need to give you 12-hour notice for us to come in as a general inspection. If it's emergency, that's a little different. If it's on fire, they're one in. But if there is a required there's an inspection that we need to do, they do have to give you a notice of 12 hours. So there is that. So there's protections for landlords and there's protections for the property or for the tenants. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there a way for us to know what the percentage of absentee landlords are, or corporate Wall Street landlords, which I understand are increasing in the nation? compared to locally owned rental properties?
I don't have that information, that I don't. It might be out there, I don't know of anyone that keeps track of that. We know when they register their rentals here, we know, because you can have it as 520 18th Street LLC. That's the name of the rental. That's the hard part. We don't have an exact name, so I don't have a list of that type of rental registration. Good question.
That's like saying, how long a lot of private is not your landlord.
Right?
You ought to be able to take care of it. Why can't you say, who are you?
Well, that's their owner's name, and I got an address to send that letter to. That's all I'm required to get and have, and a phone number.
When you use the term registry, what does that mean for them registering? Do they also have to have an approval? You go through to make sure the property is adequate to properly be registered.
Per our rental ordinance right now, we can't require that. I offer that up to them. I say, I'll come in there for free to walk through it. I can't require that right now. State statute changed that. Again, it's only complaint-based or voluntary. So I have and educated a lot of these landlords. Voluntary, give me a call, we'll come through the inspection. Our inspection fees for voluntary inspections are not very expensive, they're $35. And I think the $35, and you get our acceptance report, gives a lot of acknowledgement to tenants to say, hey, the building inspector was here. He went through and did his best that day, his or her best that day, and certified that this building is safe. I think that means a lot more than $35. Do I have landlords that do that? Mm-hmm. You bet I do. Those are my best landlords. And those are the ones that have these really nice places and get good people. I see a lot of, in doing this for so long too, I see both. I see a lack of disrespect of tenants to the property. I see a lot of disrespect to the landlords to the properties too. They don't keep them up. They don't want to mow the lawn, or they don't want to do, paint the house or something. I think if everyone would work together, I think it would make it better for the renter. But that's what I've seen through the years. It's, you get garbage notices, you got parked vehicles, and so forth. But we do have the ordinances, our ordinances in the rental that do give us the authority to write that stuff up. Our council has done a good job with that. And maybe there's an opportunity for improvement. Right now, the only thing I can enforce is what has been approved by the council and the board and what's in our ordinance right now. So.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm. All right. If a tenant initiates a complaint-based inspection, is there a fee associated with that?
Nope.
Okay. If it turns out like maybe it's a road infestation, and you come and you see evidence that maybe it was kind of tenant caused, maybe there's a lot of trash sitting out, whatever. Would there, in that kind of case, still no fee for the tenant? Okay.
Well, the violation would just come, and that's where we get into a lot of that too. Like we talk about, say, mice or bees or something. That can be tenant related. If they have garbage or leftover food, that's a tenant issue, and that's based off of data catch rules. If we have bats is one good idea. One thing we do have, that's on the landlord if they have bats. Now bats are protected. So right now there was 4, now there's 2 companies in the state of, I should say this northern part of the state of Wisconsin that mitigates bats. You have to do it correctly. So in that case, we require that landlord to give us the contract or a copy of the contract that they're mitigating those bats. That's all we can do for that. So, good question.
I could ask another question unless there's somebody else, maybe another, oh, yeah, why don't you go ahead?
I have 2 questions.
Mhm.
First one is, do you educate landlords on retaliation? I know a lot of tenants are worried about filing a complaint and being retaliated against. And the second question
Good question. So your first part, DAC cap protects protects the tenant from that retaliation. They cannot do that. They're not supposed to do that.
What's that?
DAC cap, it's the Department of Agricultural Trade Consumer. They have their rules that you cannot evict somebody based off of a complaint that came into my department and we were there. They cannot do that.
That's a state thing, or?
Yes, yep, that's the state of Wisconsin. I have copies of that stuff here too tonight, so that is, yes. I do get that a lot, yes. I do have people that call me and, I'm like, they can't do that. So, yeah,
But
do
does
they,
the landlord know they can't do that?
they should. They should. Have I had a landlord flat out ask me? No. But I've told them before.
That is what I'm asking, is that part of the inspection process?
If I get that feeling from the tenant that's calling me, yes, I will say something. I'll point them, I won't say that they can't do that, I'll point them to DAC cap and say, here's the rules on eviction and so forth. Because we get that a lot too. The tenant will say, I'm going to stop paying rent and not fix it. Won't do that. Because now they can evict. And that's in DAC cap too. So I tell tenants, pay your rent, I know it's frustrating, we're going to help you. It's just something, I can't fix stuff in 24 hours some days. You know, it's going to take the 30 days or 15 days or 10 days, and I'm not saying that. What was your second part of the question?
The landlord doesn't comply with the citation, what's the next step?
We can continue, we can write another citation that doubles, and in that citation, I can make it court order. I can check the box, I have to show it to the court. I've never had to do that. I've actually had, in the last year, or 2 years, I haven't had to write a citation yet, so I'm close, but people have fixed stuff.
You did have specifics, but do you have any idea how many rental properties there are in the city of Menominee or the surrounding area?
There's close to 3,000 units. So when I say units, so we have a 12 unit, that's 12 units. Single family can be 1 unit. You know, and that's another clarity too. Single family homes can be a rental, but you can't rent to no more than 2 in every lake. So only Monica and I can live in my house in the city of Menominee. I can rent it out, but only Monica and I can live there.
So there's like 9,000 houses here, you're saying that only 2,000 are rented?
There's like 3,000 rentals, there's 2,800 rental units.
Or size nominee, is that a lot of number? I feel that we're way under.
Okay, yeah. And that's cheap. Have you seen the Maple Eco cottages up there? Are they ready? And there's Escobar building. So, I mean, there's development happening. I don't have an answer for you yet. I feel for you. I mean, I know it's happening. I know it's out there. I know it's out there. I feel for you.
Yeah, I could ask another question. So heating, it says that the facilities need to be able to maintain that does that mean that they're required? So if like it's October, it's getting cold, my unit is 60 degrees, and my landlord wants to turn on the heat, that's
Yeah, they have to have heat. So they have to have 67 degrees. So in instance like where they have a boiler system, have to turn their boiler system on, they do, when the temperatures get below 67 degrees, they have to maintain it 67 degrees. It becomes a big gray area when you have electric baseboard heat and you're running that up to 67 degrees, but your electrical bill comes back for the month at $1,000. That's an issue we got to solve there too. The code just says it's got to maintain 67 degrees. How you get there is the problem. And I think that's an issue that state legislatures have to bring up. whether there's assistance or there's a kickback or something. And Wisconsin used to have an energy statute that took that. So I can't walk into a 1956 home and put the same requirements for insulation that I have today for 2010 or 2025. I have to go by when the home was built. So if it's 1965, first code first came into session in 1980. So that's where I have to go back to, of course. 1980 was when the building codes first started. Well, I think there's ways of saving heat, plastic and so forth. Is it the right answer? I don't know, but it doesn't work. We have gone up in attics, and when there's heating issues, we look to see how much insulation is going in. A lot of times these older homes, that cellulose has settled, so they need to blow it more. We have a code we can write up to make a little similar insulation. So that does help. Because you're going to lose your heat. Believe it or not, you're going to lose your heat at the floor of your building and at the roof of your building. It's not really going, you're losing some out your walls and windows, but not as much as it really rises or goes up through your basement joist pockets. If I go into a cellar, I want to make sure those guys are stuffed with fiberglass around there, or they're going to now with spray foam or spray foam. And that works out really well, because now that's added insulation, plus it's sealing the building off from beetles or so forth, or different insects. So I think that's a good improvement that we've had over the last 5-6 years.
I think there's a question over there.
Yes, sir?
Yeah, Mark, is the council meeting if there's a list of nuisance properties? I guess what constitutes nuisance property and how many of those are there?
I don't have really a list of nuisance properties. Well, we can go out, if it meets our nuisance, we have a nuisance ordinance. If it checks the box of those different labels of the nuisance ordinance, yes, we can write those up. So a lot of it's garbage. We get a lot of garbage nuisances. So we write that up. We got to make sure they clean that. They in 10 days, usually 10 or 15 days, we have to have them take their garbage away. And here's another point too. So we get into, and every property owner in the city has a dumpster. They can go to, I still call it the dump, I'm sorry, it's not the right way to say it, but they can go to the dump. So, and landlords in our ordinance have to provide garbage cans, not recycling, but garbage cans. If they don't get the garbage cans, then they got to take the garbage from you and take it to the dump, or give you the card to take to the dump. So you have to do this. There's no, when we get some of these garbage nuisances, we try to educate people. They don't know it's there. The landlords don't express that. At least some of them do, some of them don't. But I don't want to talk about it. We got a lot of good landlords. We really do. And I know we do have a few, but we try to work with them. I like to educate. I'd rather educate than have to write citations or harp on people. I want to educate. And that's why I'm glad that we're here tonight to do this. I hope I can educate somebody or someone. And again, call me anytime. Our phones are open. Ben is here now, and Kim's here yet, and we'll try to answer everything we can and get back to you as soon as we can. Our building season is heated up now, as you can see. Whoever's here. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You had touched on earlier about the landlord ain't fixing things not to not pay them, but when you put it into, forget the kind of account, it's like a custodial account almost, escrow effective. As long as you can prove that the money's there to pay the rent, you can do that.
I guess I would have to check. I don't know the answer to that question. I just know what DAP cap says is if we don't pay the rent, that's going to give them an opportunity to evict. So that would be a good question for an attorney or somebody. Yes, ma'am.
On the topic of rent, how do they arrive at that? And when they say, well, we're just trying to bring it up to market value across where? Is that a state thing? Is that a federal thing?
That's a really good question. I don't know how they come up with rent. Yeah, I don't know how they come up with what their rental is. And we have no control over that.
That's what they said, the new outfit that we're doing, as soon as we renew our.
Oh, but I think we're getting a little off topic on rental inspections. Can I ask one more question and then we can take maybe one more from the audience to draw this to a close? Okay, so the ordinance talks about ways that landlords can initiate it or tenants can. What if I own a property and I'm concerned about that property down the street? You know, it's not being taken care of. I mean, I know I can't initiate an inspection, but are there other ways, you know, besides talking to my neighbor, that I can resolve other tools?
We have driven around. If you say, hey, I'm concerned about this property, yes, we will drive around. I can initiate the inspection, or Ben can initiate the inspection. If it's something that you're really concerned about, call the police department. They can do the inspection too. Or they'll bring us in. Or the fire department too.
I think we've got time for one more question.
Sure. And, yes.
Landlords, I'm sorry. I live at Scout for a long years. And we had slumlords. As that, and I had students that worked in my office that their buildings were so cold, they draped blankets over the windows, they slept in their coats and sleeping bags and blankets. Has that improved?
I think so. From what I've gone through, some of the landlords have changed, they've left the area, and those rentals actually have turned into single family homes. Take a ride, go past 1815 Fifth Street. I was going to condemn that house. It took me 2 years to get it to condemn. Somebody walked in 5 minutes, owner walked in 5 minutes before it was going to go, and we had to stop all action on it. It's actually fixed up, and the owner's daughter lives in it right now. And I was going to condemn it. That's how much he fixed it up. That's pretty good. That's really cool. Yep.
A lot of students are locked in with very little money, so they live in places that nobody should be.
421 21st, that's a good one too. That's all fixed up. I'm being told to stop.
Well, those burgers are starting to smell pretty amazing. Sorry, my phone is stopped. So, all right. We're going to move on. So, thank you again. All right, so finally, good catch. I'm going to lastly introduce Bill Hogsett. He's going to wrap things up by clarifying what's at stake and talking about next steps we can take.
Hello. Hi everybody, my name's Bill. I'm an organizer with GROWW. And I'm going to close this out, and just a few things that I think I want to pull on are just some lessons. One is, after hearing Dave speak, the importance of local government, having people who are skilled and passionate about what they do, and working in jobs that maybe not everybody understands exactly what it is they do, and maybe don't feel very romantic. But calling back to Emmy's story, where Emmy woke up one day with smoke in her room, and her building burning down. The work of a building inspector enforcing codes and things like that is a high consequence thing in our community. And I'm very grateful for Dave showing up every day, doing the work, and then coming here to share about the work he does. So let's give him a round of applause. The other lesson I think we should leave with is a lesson about power. We talk a lot about power at GROWW because we believe that for us to get the communities we want to live in, we need power. And so I just want to say something about specifically rental inspections, and Dave alluded this to a few times. Some of the questions that were asked, and Dave said, well, in state statute it says this, and so we can't do that. So how many of you have heard of Act 317? So we're at a GROWW meeting, so some of you have, that's good. So this was a piece of legislation that was passed in 2017 in the Wisconsin State Legislature, so this is state law, this is not local ordinance. And it, tell me if I'm right here, Dave, it prohibits proactive municipal rental inspections. Required. Okay. Proactive municipal inspections that are required of property owners. So that happened in 2017, and so we now live in a state where cities can't require inspections from happening. And so what does this have to do with power? So in 2017, the Wisconsin Realtors Association spent $500,000 lobbying for that bill to pass. And it also just so happens that 1 in every 5 legislators who voted for that bill also happen to be landlords. So we think about power, and we think about wealth, and we think about who has it and who doesn't. And so there's a reason why a group like ours has to organize in its community to make sure we can live in homes that are safe and healthy. So that's why we're here today, and that's why GROWW has been doing all this work, knocking on doors, having listening sessions, and we are starting to research what are their different options for communities to strengthen rental inspections, and we've started to research what other communities have done. And I want to draw attention to something in your packet, this flyer right here. On June 10th at the Mabel, we're having a woman who works for the city of Racine. Her name is Kelly Reed. She's going to come up and tell us about what they've done in Racine with their program. It's called Racine Rents. And she's going to come here and explain how it works. And it's pretty inspiring. And they passed an ordinance after Act 317 was passed, because they didn't like what Act 317 did to their community. So they found a way to kind of, I won't say work around it, but I mean, that's kind of the only way I can say it. So that's June 10th, Tuesday night, 6 to 7 p.m. at the Mabel, so it's in about a month. And what we're hoping is that this can initiate a conversation in our community about potentially exploring a similar approach. Is there an ordinance that we could pass? And I'm really happy we've got city staff here, elected officials, and other city council members here. We'd really like to have this conversation, and I think Kelly can help us kickstart that. Okay, thank you. I know the burgers are probably calling to you, but I have a few more things. One is that as we do this research and exploring options, we are going to get a petition going to start building support for a potential ordinance. And if you are interested in being somebody who would help us distribute that petition, collect signatures from your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, we have a sign-up sheet. Brandon and Angie have a clipboard. Who's interested in helping collect signatures? We have hands. We have hands. Why don't Brandon and Angie bring some clipboards over and just put your name down. We'll follow. Yeah, round of applause. Secondly, I just want to say, in your packet, there is this envelope. We are a membership organization. We are democratically run. We're a grassroots organization. If you become a member of GROWW, you're joining a community that's building power together. And we believe that power is not just organized people, but also organized money. Because we live in the world we live in. So if you would like to invest in this organization with membership dues, please consider that. The envelope is here, and you can drop it in the donation jar that I saw was recently going around back there. Lastly, who in here is a tenant? Okay. If you have a housing story that you would like to share, Reba would like to speak with you and hear your story. We think stories are very, very powerful. because these issues are not just abstract policies and statistics and data and ordinances. These are our lives and where we live, and where we feel safe, and where we can thrive. So if you have a story you'd like to share, talk with me about afterwards. And then lastly, let's give a round of applause to Chef Brandon. And his crew, Eileen and Zach and Penny, who've been prepping and cooking for us to have some food together, because we believe that change and building power is important, but so is community. So let's break some bread together, and if there's somebody here who you don't know, introduce yourself. And I think Dave might be sticking around, so if you have questions, you can hit him up. And that concludes our night. Thanks for coming, and hope to see you at the Mabel on June 10th. Thank you.